Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Well, welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele and June and June Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, that's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support. With Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball. With June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support. With Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause.
Yay!
Yay! Welcome to the award-winning Live Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with Michele with one L, Trisha's sister, Rhonda Colson, Corey's friend, my best friend, don't call me Shelly, Michele VanDusen. Hey!
Hey, hey, how are ya?
I'm good. What's up, little one?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm awake, so
Yes.
There
Tell
we
us
go.
about it. We're going to be transparent on this podcast. So, Michele, you're aching today, but y'all, the show must go on. She is a trooper.
Yeah.
We are in here making this earth-shattering content. So worth her being in here, which doesn't feel well. What's going on with you, little one?
Okay. So, first off, at like 5:00 this morning, our son calls. He's on the side of the highway. I guess his belts or something blew, and I can hear Ross talking. And I'm like, wait, what? So I get up, and he's like, no, he's fine. It's just the car. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh,
So
the car belt blew, because I imagine like his
just
britches,
walking.
he's on the side of the road. He's like, Mom, my pants are dragging. I'm going slow. Can you come help me? Okay, so the car belt.
The car
It's always
belt.
important to be specific. Go ahead.
I guess you're right. You're right. So then I hear him talking about, well, yeah, I guess I'll have to go get a trailer and, come get you. And I'm like, Russ, we have the towing package on our insurance. Get the tow company. He's like, oh, yeah, good idea. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. Anyway, so like that happened. So I was up super early. Plus, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep yesterday or the day before because I have my tooth is hurting. And it's not just one tooth, because now it's fussing with the other ones around it, because I had like a cap or whatever put on. I don't know. It's been a minute. And so I feel like it shifted or just enough where it's like, oh, and I'm going to blame a piece of popcorn. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes.
Blame popcorn. Anyway, so it was hurting, and I did a show on Sunday, and while I was on stage, it was all good. But the moment you walk off, you're like,
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Here's the thing, June, you're going to love this. I got an appointment in today.
Is it at 2:30? Because that's the best time to go to the dentist.
My appointment,
Tooth hurting.
no joke, is at 2:30 time. Yes, it is.
Is it really at 2:30?
It is.
My brain just exploded. That's the best ever.
I'm like, you can't, because she's like, how's 2:30? I'm like, that's perfect. She's like, really? I'm like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, you don't want earlier? I'm like, no, I have to have, so.
I can't believe it's at 2:30.
I know.
See,
I know,
Jesus
I know.
loves you, and he knows how to make you laugh. He's like, I'm even going to give you a giggle in the middle of all this pain. That is what's happening. Nothing is worse. Like, okay, so you're filming your dry bar this weekend. And obviously the last thing that you need to worry about, I think the most painful things in the world are a toothache or an earache. And that,
they connect. They connect most of the time.
Yeah. So you don't need to worry about that. So thank God that you are getting in and going to get some relief today.
Yeah. Because we leave tomorrow.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Reginald, so my dog Reggie has joined us. He's hanging out. I had to bring him in here because he's trying to attack the construction workers across the street. So
Oh,
he may
what a
be
good boy.
coming in and out today. Well, I'm glad that you're doing that. So dry bar is coming up this weekend. Kind of hard to concentrate on that right now in the midst
Just
of
a
the
little.
pain. But
Right.
this weekend you got to do, this past weekend, you did a
Mhm.
show with our good friend Lee Harden. So where was that at? Who was on the show?
Okay, so that was at the Looney Bin in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Yes.
and it's um it's under new management, and this the owner has made so many great improvements to this club. It's always been a good room. Like it's been always been a great room. And now it's just the atmosphere just gets better and better. Now they've added a green room, which is very, very cool. And so it's just, if you haven't been to the Looney Bin in a while, I'm gonna just recommend go on out and check out some of the shows because they're bringing in top quality comedians. Like, yeah, it's just been good. Anyway, so Nicole Miller was on the show. So I hosted the show. So I did 15 up front, and I got the group where they needed to be, and it was the greatest audience. I mean, they were so good. And then Nicole came out, and then we had a guest spot for Miss Micah. I I don't know if you remember her from our
Yes.
writers group. She's from
Yes.
Germany, and so she lives in Missouri, a couple hours away, and so she drove in to do a guest spot, like 5 minutes or whatever. Plus, she took pictures, and I'm telling you, if you need like headshots or anything, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's so good. So you should check her out sometime. Uh, I'll put her info in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then Lee came out, and it was a great show.
He punched him
And
in the face, didn't he? He just punched him in the face. He came out swinging, didn't he?
he did.
Yeah.
The audience loved him. Um, and I'm sure he'll be back, soon. I'm sure because it was so good. It was excellent. And I've worked with Lee a few times previously, and I love seeing how, the more we travel, the more we are on stage, the better and the sharper we get with our craft and our skills and things like that. And he told like one of his closer is when he was on the Huckabee show.
Yes.
And-
Don't give away his closer, Michelle. Don't give away the closer.
oh, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm just saying that's a great
Right.
transition.
My dog went, oh. Yes,
So,
comedy. Don't tell me. No, I know you're
yeah. Yeah, because like I know that you and I have both done the warm up for Huckabee, but he was on the show,
show.
so people can see him. And yeah, the show. And so, that was such a funny set. And I really enjoyed and there were some other people that drove a couple hours to come to the show, which I think that really honors you as a comedian when people will travel farther than, a half hour to come see you, when they're spending
Yes.
2 hours on the road just to get there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you're like, "Ah, I better do a good job, so but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Lee did a great job.
Mhm.
And yeah, but because I mentioned the Huckabee thing, I want to hear about your Huckabee story and all the things that has been happening in your life, because it's been a minute since you and I have spoken.
Yeah, it has. It has. Well, I want to go back to your gig. So
Yeah.
Lee and I we talk a lot, probably a couple times a day, pretty consistently, just as a comedy, he's a good friend in comedy and very supportive. And so I got to kind of hear a little bit about the show. He talked about what a good job you did, just how great the crowd was, how much fun it was to be there. So I love, if I can't work with my friends, it's always fun when my friends are doing a show together and to get to hear about what that experience is. And I want to point out too that most of the shows that we see are like 4 dudes, 1 girl, right? That's usually what it
Mhm.
is. But this particular show, I was just looking at the picture afterwards, and it was literally 3
Oh,
female comedians and Lee.
it
And
was.
yeah,
Lee and his harem.
and his hair, yes. But I think that's he just wants to put on a good show, And I always think that's awesome. It's cool to get to see, a show that tips more towards more women on the show. Sometimes we just don't get to see that very often. I mean, I'm about a good show and a variety on the show, but I thought that was really cool too. So he comes out swinging, and I think that was a great experience for everybody, and a great timing for you to be able to pop in 15 minutes to get settled in for this dry bar recording. So we'll definitely be revisiting that, and the dry bar recording coming up soon. So I can't wait for the recap of that. All right. So this weekend for me, we're going to do an episode coming up when Michelle's physical health is better, and talk a little bit about my mental health. And yes, friends, I'm somebody.
It'll be both of ours, but go ahead.
Yes. So I'm somebody who's never had counseling, never gone to a therapist, and had a lot of crazy things happen in my life. And as we know, a lot of comedians, they joke about, their life, and it's kind of part of the therapy. But I literally did 5 days of intensive therapy and counseling. I got done at 1:00 on Friday, and was at the Huckabee show 4.5 hours later, ready to rock and roll. I thought, if they don't break me, then it's probably going to be a good time. I should be in better mental health by the time, and not that I was in any personal crisis at the moment, but it was just something I chose to do to better my health. Yeah. So I say that so you can imagine, I've just had 5 days of intense, this conversation about life and my childhood and all of these things. And then now it's go time right away. Mm-hmm. And the lineup changed. So there was supposed to be a magician on the show, and the magician was replaced.
Disappeared.
Yes, he disappeared. That's right. And the guest was Sarah Palin.
Oh my gosh. Seriously? Yeah. I can see Sarah Palin from here. Oh.
Yes, she definitely loves when people say that, I'm sure.
I know. Well, I met her one time, and I absolutely love her because she wrote a book, and I stood in line. I don't stand in line for a lot of people's books, but I stood in line for hers, and I'm just put that out there. Okay, so you got to meet Sarah Palin. Keep going.
Yeah, I got to meet her. She came in the green room with the most rockin' black knee-high cowgirl boots. When I tell you, I was like, I saw the boots before I saw the woman. They were so fabulous. I was like, who are those boots? And then, so tiny. Of course, I'm always like,
the fact that you looked up. Were you sitting down?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I was sitting down when she came in, and I saw her boots. Right. And no, I don't normally have to look up to any women. My dog, can you hear his nails hitting the floor? I apologize.
Yes.
So our listeners, that's what you're hearing in the background. It's just a tick, 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 tick. She, super sweet person. We probably spent 2 hours in the green room together. Wow. Also on the show was, I need to look it up, but it was basically like a bird rescue. It's Raven.
Who?
Raven, Raptor. Oh, I gotta look it up. Anyway, there's an owl that now follows me on social media, which is awesome. And I have to look it up because I want to get it correct. Who was following me? Oh yeah, Huckabee and
well, that's just a hoot.
Huckabee and Keith Bilbrey did plenty of owl puns in the in between. But yeah, so I got to stand behind this beautiful hawk bird. I was close enough to see that it had cataracts, which is why they have it, because it's not safe for it to be in the wild anymore. And there was an owl, and there was another little bird, and so yeah, I was hanging out in the green room with Sarah Palin. She very friendly person, like literally was. It was just like hanging out with somebody I just met in the green room. It really wasn't a lot of dramatics about it. And so they had told me there was a musical guest, and a lot like when you did the warm up, and this hasn't happened to me when I've done the warm up. They were going to break down the stage, and because the musical guest was going to play first. Okay, cool. So I've been told that. So after he sings, you'll come out, you'll do 5 minutes. You may have to stretch a little bit while they break down the stage. I said, okay. So I'm up there waiting for that moment. I'm not down below behind stage. And then suddenly one of the producers come and they like motion for me, like, come on, come on, come on. And I come down the steps and basically they just hand me the mic and are like, go.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. And I'm like, they haven't even played the song. And then I'm like, go where? Because when I step out, the orchestra is still on the stage. They're still sitting there and it's dark. And she's like, where you always go? And I was like, okay. And so I go out and and so I don't know I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm doing my material. I'm watching the clock is counting down. It never quite hits 0, and then I see 59 seconds. So I'm like, oh, they've added another minute. Gonna stretch. So my brain is now calculating what's the next thing I'm gonna say. And I'm like getting ready to start something, and the announcer goes, all right, that's great, June Colson. And just cuts, like it just cuts. And I'm like, okay. And I wave and I go back. And now I think, oh, I misread the clock. I messed up. Oh no, I messed up. So I'm like sweating at this point, thinking man, they're never going to hire me again.
What a great thing after that week.
My go-to response, which we've learned in therapy, is just the negative. It's just, I just assume that I've made a mistake. So I head back up to the green room where Sarah Palin is like, good job, June. And I'm like, thanks, Sarah Palin. Thumbs up. Like, what? That's so weird. And and she and I even like in the green room had talked about just the weird places, the like situations that unfold, and people are like, what did you do this weekend? And I said, last time I was here, I was eating veggie straws with Hercules, right? And now when people are like, how was your weekend? I'm like, oh, I was hanging out with Sarah Palin and an owl.
Who?
Maximus, I think, is actually his name.
And
Dan Meyer from the CCA, apparently he's done stuff with this particular rescue program, because he was like, get out, you got to meet Maximus. And he was talking about the owl, not Kurt, who runs the program. So I automatically go to, I messed up. It's my fault. What have I done? They're going to fire me. And then I look, and one of the producers has followed me to the green room. I have my jacket off. I'm like, I don't know what happened, Sarah. Sarah, like, I think I may have messed up. And the producer comes and is like, good job. Sorry about that. Gonna need you to go back out there.
Again?
Yes. And I'm like, okay, when? I'm like, okay, when? And she's like, now. And I'm like, right now? And she goes, yeah. And I go, how much time? And she's like, I don't know. Now they're breaking down the set. So just till they break down the set. So my brain is like, what am I going to do? And I literally have 60 seconds to just reset and go, what are we going to do? And thank God I did have therapy that week and just work through some stuff, because I was just like, let's go. Like, it was literally free falling. I mean, the kind of like the rush of it all, I didn't want to mess up. Obviously the audience felt that abrupt, like he cut me off and I walked out. Normally I wouldn't draw any attention to if it felt like something didn't go smoothly, but it was this kind of like, what happened? So I came out and I was like, I'm back. Are y'all surprised? Because I am. And they kind of giggled. Here's the most surreal part. Front row, Oakridge Boys.
What?
There's some dudes from the Oakridge Boys with a really long beard, and they had this sweet, when you are just watching someone watching you and they're enjoying it and they're just smiling and like, and I don't know if they were enjoying it because they thought I was funny or if they were just that Southern, bless her heart. Look at her. She's a mess.
Now, are you sure it was the Oakridge Boys and not ZZ Top? Because you said
not ZZ Top.
Okay.
Oakridge Boys. Oh yeah.
All right.
The back of my brain was like, oh my gosh, my dad smoked so many Marlboros for us to get the Marlboro country cassette tapes that had the Oakridge Boys on it.
Did you say that one?
And the songs were in the back of my head, and it was just, well, had I gone out a third time, for sure I was going to talk about that. But I was just so like, think about your material. Now, fortunately, I had texted Jason and told him, like, yeah, remember how I told you about Michele and how she was, the set breakdown. And I said, so that's what I'm doing tonight, which, I mean, even one of the producers was like, we know it's not the easiest for comedy. We appreciate what you do. And but that's our job. Our job, literally, they just sent out a 10-foot tall, sparkly thing to be like, hey, look at me, ignore that, stay warm, be in the moment, everybody. You know what I mean? I mean, that's really
yeah.
our job, because they're not there like we're here for a comedy show. No, they're there for the Huckabee show. And we are kind of the side note. We are, you know, and I'm not dismissing what we do. I'm just saying it's not about us in the comedy, but it's about what comedy can do to help that production run smoother, to keep the audience focused on just having fun, right? And so what had happened at the first part was they had a musical guest. They were set up for that, but he hadn't made it up to the stage yet. And so they didn't want the audience to get cold. So she said they were literally in the headpiece going, get the comedian, get the comedian, get the comedian. Like it's a comedy emergency, right? Like that's what happened. They're like, go, here's the mic, you know, like someone was having a heart attack on an airplane. They were like, is there a comedian in the house? We need a comedian right now. We gotta save this.
Where's the clown?
Yes. I'm like, what are we doing? Huh? Where? Step on an orchestra and stand in the middle of the Oakridge Boys? Absolutely. I can do that.
Send in the
Sarah
clown.
Palin.
I got this.
Like, I don't know what just happened. I was laughing so hard when I came back up, and they were like, good job, you know, and they were really sweet. I hope I did a good job for them. Afterwards, Wynette was like, so, you know, that was super fun, huh? And like, yeah, I mean, she acknowledged like it was a little bit of like, what's happening? But I told her, I was like, you know, that's the fun part of what we get to do. If a year ago, that would have freaked me out. I would not have been ready for that a year ago. But I was just, dude, and literally being in therapy all week long. Thank you so much for the throat coat conversation that you had, because I brought that, and I brought Breathe Right with me, because you spend 5 days talking, and then I'm like, I have Huckabee on Friday, I have a fundraiser on Saturday. I need my voice. I'm gonna have to have my voice. And so, yeah, what have you got? Ricola?
So my new favorites, Ricola, the original. Oh my gosh, I had no idea how wonderful these things are. They had these in the green room, and I'm glad that I took some, because it also has
You stole cough drops from the green. You just said
I was allowed to have them.
all of them, Michelle, though?
I didn't take all of them. There's a bunch left. I took like 3.
Come on, though. My mom would have had her whole purse filled with it. There wouldn't have been. She would have left one for good measure, but she would be like, they said we could have them.
No. No, I had one that night. I had one yesterday, and I got this one. Yeah. And it's delicious. And it helps with because it says it's oral, because I looked up online, oral antiseptic or something like that. I'm like, oh, this is perfect for my mouth right now.
Get out. Get out.
I'm like, it helped numb some. Not that it numbs, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you just glossed right over your sticky fingers, because when you stayed here last time, I noticed all my little creamers were gone, and my bathroom soap, and it wasn't even travel soap, Michelle. You took the bars from under the cabinet.
Well, yeah, you had that whole box of them. It was great. No, you were on. Was it our last episode where you had like, I've turned into my mother. I have these hotel soaps.
Yes, yeah.
See, I left those. I think I brought those. No, I swapped for Costco for hotel. There you go.
Well, let me tell you what I made a couple nights ago. I did homemade ginger citrus tea. Like, I bought the ginger root, and you boil it with some little cuties, right? You squeeze the juice out of the cuties, and it was so good. It's just different than having a tea bag, like having the fresh ginger boiled in fresh orange juice. It was so good.
I expect that next time when I come
to
your house.
I will absolutely do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I will absolutely do it. So yeah, voice. Thank you for the throat coat idea. And then I found the Breathe Right. Still struggling with asthma, still struggling with breathing. I think I'm getting better, and then I don't. So I was trying to guard my voice as much as I could. And then, so Oakridge Boys, Sarah Palin, Owls.
Crazy set time,
but it was so much fun. Then I had a ton of friends that were there. It's either my 4th or 5th time that they've hired me. And each time I may have had one or two people in the audience, it's been kind of, just a friend pops in here and there. But there were 3 different churches who came, plus my sister and my brother-in-law, Bobby and Gibby, who did our opening
Theme
song.
song.
Yeah, they came and got to experience that. And that's super fun for me to get to see people experience the Huckabee show, a television taping, those kind of things for the first time. And then they're musicians and they work with a lot of different musicians. So,
Did they get to
they're,
meet the Oakridge Boys? Were they excited?
yeah, they thought that was so cool. And, they kind of get the entertainment industry stuff. So yeah, that was a blessing to have them there. And then I have some new friends from Hendersonville and a couple of them showed up. So they all really got to see in real time, like game on what we're doing and watching me. And,
Oh,
and
maybe your job is harder than I thought.
yeah.
Hmm.
A couple of them were like, this is nuts, and then Sarah Palin stuck around and she did the meet and greet with Huckabee afterwards. So everybody who came who wanted to was able to go down and
Oh, that's nice. Not everybody
yeah.
does that.
No. And I know, there's obviously a lot of political figures, a lot of conservative political figures, right-wing figures, things like that are on there. And politics is not like my politics, not something that I share a whole lot about, but say what you want to say. Like, this is a person who put themselves out there and, ran for office and a female powerhouse of a person. And
Yeah.
regardless of which side of the aisle somebody's on, I have such a respect for people who do that, who put themselves out there. We know, like that's what we were talking about in the green room, tiny bubble of what it feels like to have somebody criticize us, care about, what we're doing and make comments about our content and those kind of things. Somebody backstage, one of the other guests was like, oh yeah. Oh, I have to tell you about this conversation I had with one of the dudes' dads back there. So funny.
A dad? A dad
yeah,
dude.
Dad, like
Not the dudes, just
the
a
dude's
dad.
dad. It's
Okay.
an elderly gentleman in his late 80s. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. Oh,
The conversation.
they were talking about being famous. This elderly gentleman was talking about somebody getting famous because he knew a comedian who did. And I said, yeah, I don't know that that's ever going to be a goal for me. And I said, I don't want my family in the middle of that kind of drama where people care about who I am and where I'm at and how much weight I've gained. And I said, Sarah, you could probably tell us they go after everything, right? Your children, your grandchildren, your mother, your father, your neighbor, your dog, your pedicurist, like everyone. And she's like, absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, I just say that to say, like, the reality is that person, everybody I come in contact with, I just try to greet them and meet them as a human being and not as a position or a political figure. So yes. Okay, Michelle, you're going to love this. So this gentleman was backstage. He's in his late 80s, I believe. And he goes, Tim Hawkins? Do you know Tim Hawkins? And I said, well, I've been in his presence a few times. If you ask him if he knows who Junebug is, absolutely not. But yes, I know you're talking about. And he goes, yeah, my boys, they grew up with the family and his parents were good friends with us. And he said, my youngest was in... is it Damn Yankees? Is that a musical?
Yes, that's a musical.
Yeah. So he was like, my youngest was in Damn Yankees with him. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And he goes, I remember when he got started. And it was as if he was reminiscing on this beautiful memory. He goes, I remember when Tim got started and we went and saw him. And I thought, this kid's never going to make it.
Tim who?
He said he just thought he was so goofy and over the top. And he goes, I was like, yeah, we left there. And I told my wife, he'll never make it. Tim Hawkins. And he was just laughing at the absurdity of it. I thought, that is the cutest thing I think I've ever heard.
So if you've never heard of Tim Hawkins, he is a comedian. He's very, very famous, very funny. And he does musical comedy as well as straight up. Because you're talking about like the political stuff. Have you ever seen his video on who can take your money? Da, 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 da,
I have not.
And the government. You gotta look up that video. It's hilarious. And it's just he gives these truths set to music, and it's just and the video and his smile when he does it. I mean, it's so good. Anyway,
Yeah.
the government can.
The government can. Well, speaking of money, so the next day I get back from Huckabee because I was already worried about like, oh, doing a show on Saturday. Then Huckabee booked
Yeah.
me. Next day I got to do an event with Funny for Funds.
Oh,
Christopher
yeah.
Christopher Monholland from Clarksville, Tennessee, invited me to come in and feature for their first kind of official Funny for Fun show. It was Comedy for Cops, which was, I was really excited about that. Anybody who knows me knows my brother is a police officer, and my heart is definitely there. And they raised over $20,000 for that event. And so I got to be a part of that. And
Nice.
yeah, and wrapped it up yesterday with friends. Oh, Michelle. Now your mic's mute.
What was that?
For those of you listening, I don't know what just happened.
That was like a Huckabee moment. You were gone and then back out.
Hey guys, it's me, Junebug. I'm back. You surprised? I
Yay!
am.
That was crazy. Is
So
your
yeah,
phone have enough battery? It's not going to
no,
die
it's
on us?
fine. I have
Okay.
100%.
Or-
You always try to blame me, Michelle. Why do you always go? Of course, I take it because I'm the person who ran upstairs at Huckabee and went, well, I screwed that up. I blew the clock. They're going to fire me. And they're like, no,
Oh,
you
no.
did a great job. Do it again.
I wasn't blaming you. I was blaming technology.
Mhm.
Big difference.
No, full signal, full signal. But that's
Okay.
probably a sign it's time to wrap this puppy up.
Okay. Before we wrap it up, June, do you have a tip of the week for us?
My tip of the week is not really comedy. It has to do with my special tea that I made. You know, I made that tea, Michelle, and it tastes so good. And it was crazy
Oh,
because the
good.
calorie count, I was like, this is so sweet and so good. How are the calories so low? Tip of the week. Pay attention in your recipes if it says tablespoon or teaspoon, because I put so much honey in that tea. I kept pouring and I kept pouring, and I was like, this is a lot of honey for that many calories. So, there's a difference, friends. I mean, I'm not a professional chef, but there's a difference. There's a difference. What about you? You got a joke for the day besides your tooth hurting?
Well, because you mentioned the older gentleman in the green room. What
Mhm.
did the pirate say when he turned 80?
Pirate when he turned 80. I don't know, Michelle, what?
I'm 80. 80. I'm 80. Okay.
Like I'm 80. Got it. It took
Yeah.
me a second. I'm like, what? It's so bad. You need pain medicine. So listen, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Laugh Support Podcast. If you are watching us, you can listen to the Laugh Support Podcast on all major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if you are listening and you want to see all the amazing things happening, you can watch us on YouTube. And make sure that you're following Michele VanDusen on all her social media platforms. Michelle's Comedy. Remember, that's Michelle with one L. And you can find me on social media on Junebug Comedy. All right. I think that's going to be it for this episode. As always, Jesus and Junebug loves you, Michelle. Sad little toothache Michelle. Tell them goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks for listening. Catch you next.